time, and so the whole thing was kind of a fiasco. It got retired in, I want to say, before 1970 they quit doing it because the whole thing was just a waste of money. And
Not quite dead yet.
Yes. Well, it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah. They still got something about Europe still has a bit of a space program.
That though, that's kind of the end of what I've got here for the Black Knight. So I'm going to go on record and saying I'm not saying that there isn't something that is orbiting the Earth that we didn't put there that is of an intelligent origin that we haven't figured out. I'm not going to say that because I can't say that. But what I'm going to say is that a lot of things that have been tacked onto this story shouldn't have been tacked on because they're not real.
But
they're not really part of the story.
That's just kind of the fun of the whole thing, though.
Well, it's the fun of the whole thing until there's 700 different things that have been glued to it.
Well, isn't that why we do this podcast?
It is indeed. And so I'm going to say, I do think that there may have been something up there that we didn't know what it was, whether it's still there or not. But it's not this giant thing that the Black Knight satellite story has grown to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just, probably like I was saying, naturally occurring, just a meteoroid that was captured for a while before burning up in our atmosphere, or debris left over from our space program. But that's
one of our bad spy satellites, the rocket.
Yeah. So,
any number of things.
Yeah.
But not, an alien probe or anything, probably.
Nah, I don't think so.
Not that I know of yet.
Kind of doubting that. Because actually, probably they would have been here by now after surveying the planet and everything, and figuring out there's lots of edible human beings down here. They would have been here.
Well, I think I know I've talked to you two about this, but I don't know if any of our listeners have. It always that makes me think. There's this book out there called Infected by a guy named Scott Sigler, and one of the things is that there's this probe circling the Earth that's dropping microbe spore things that are doing weird things to people to try and get its race going again. But that's what I would think about is like, if it's been there that long and it figures out we're here and hey, there's yummy humans with the squishy inside, let's do that. But none of that has happened.
Well, you don't know that it hasn't happened.
I knew you were going to do that to
I'm just saying, you don't know that it hasn't happened.
They might have snagged some people to, actually, if you think of human beings as a delicacy, then obviously the smart thing to do is just to come down here and nab enough breeding pairs to take back to your home world that you can just breed a whole lot of herds of humans that you can, that you can just slaughter and turn into steaks.
I was just going with the whole spore thing. There's nothing to say that the course that our evolution has taken has been the natural course that our evolution would have taken had we not been exposed to those spores. You don't know.
Yeah.
No, both of them. Although I do like Joe's theory a little bit better.
Yeah, because you guys don't like the idea.
Cattle.
You don't like the idea of benevolent aliens. You guys are always like, aliens, they're
no. I
horrible.
want the Joe Cattle line. There's what is it, Omicron Persei I-8, and they've got a whole host of clones of Joe that are just walking around talking about submarines before they get cut up into
until their human horn are harvested.
Yeah, they ain't gonna take me alive. But no,
that's what they all say before they walk into the human chopper.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this one's laid to rest.
Not alien.
It's not as at least it's not as
no
as big as it's
it
been led to be.
No, it's sad.
Yeah.
It would be fun. It would be fun. And by the way, I was speaking back to the whole thing about aliens. I really, really want the aliens that we eventually meet, if we do, to be good and to be benevolent. Maybe it's possible, but
and not to eat us.
Yeah, but I think that given the fact that evolution applies, Darwinism applies on all worlds, they're going to be aggressive and nasty, and they're probably going to want what we have.
We're probably going to end up being space hillbillies. That's really what it's going to boil down to. But we're getting off track.
Way off track.
We're getting off track. So let's give our final bit of important information here, which is our website, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. Of course, there you're going to find the episode and all of our episodes that we've done on any story in the past. You will find our research links to this particular one. You can leave a comment on the website. You can download the episode on the website. Most people aren't doing that. Instead, most people are probably going to iTunes. If you're on iTunes, go ahead, leave a comment and a rating. That's how other people find us, and you can subscribe right there. If you're streaming us through another app, whether it be Stitcher or Podcatcher or whatever it might be, that's awesome. Leave ratings there, but you can always find us that way. You can find us on Facebook because we have the page and the group. And what is it you always say? Find us, friend us, like us, Joe?
Something like that.
And Joe just wants to be liked.
Oh,
but we're on
please.
Facebook, and we always have good conversations on there with folks. We are on Twitter. We are Thinking, without the G, Sideways, at Twitter. We're on Twitter. And, of course, we've got T-shirts and mugs and phone cases and some other stuff like that. That is all available. If you go to our website, on the right-hand sidebar, there is a link to Zazzle directly to our store. So if you're interested in some of that, it's all right there. And, of course, if you are the Black Knight Satellite and you want to talk to us, stop using those silly LDEs and just send us an email.
That's right, dude. Come on, get 21st century and all that.
Get an it's going to be an email address that's at Black Knight.
No, it's going to be at clintonemail.com. By the way, we have new piece of merchandise. We do have personally autographed 8x10 glossies of ourselves.
That's not true.
Available.
Nope.
Our faces are blacked out.
Nope, not true.
Not true at all.
Yeah, no.
Our email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com.
Hear that, Satellite?
Send us comments. Send us story suggestions. You can send us just about anything you want if you want to talk about stuff. We're always there. We'll reply to everybody. Maybe not within the first day, but we get to all of our emails. And I think that's just about all the details we need to share with folks.
Yeah, we need to get on out of here.
All right. We're going to close this one up. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. It's been fun, and we will talk to you next week.
Ta-ta.
Bye, guys. Aliens.
Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by Rock Me Amadeus. Instead, it's supported by the generous contributions of people like you, our listeners, on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/Thinking Sideways to learn more.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey, everybody. Welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I am Steve, of course joined by...
Devin.
Joe.
Yeah.
You were right this time.
I didn't forget my pseudonym.
I almost say, I was going to say Devin.
I know.
Yeah.
Because it's your real name.
This week, we've got another mystery, which is not how do we do the same bit every week, but instead, a real mystery. This week, we're going to be talking about... Well, this is kind of an oddball mystery to me. I mean, it's one of those ones that I keep reading over and over and over, and you just kind of scratch your head going, what's going on?
It's a bit of an odd one, yeah.
Yeah, and this is the death of a gentleman by the name of Blair Adams. Before I forget, this was suggested by Denise quite a while back.
Thank you.
Did get to it.
We do get to them.
Yes, we do.
Usually.
Yeah.
Takes a while.
Some of them do
it's
take
a big
a while.
list.
Yeah. It's a really big list. And it just keeps growing.
Okay. Well, let me give everybody a quick summary before we get into the story, because there is kind of a bunch of details here. Blair Adams was a Canadian man whose body was found on the 11th of July, 1996, in the parking lot of a hotel that was currently under construction in Knoxville, Tennessee. He was wearing a ripped shirt and nothing else.
It sure been. Was it ripped or had it just been torn open, like you rip it open without unbuttoning it?
I think it was probably torn open, but you hear it referred to as ripped.
Yeah.
So we'll go whichever one you like. There was somewhere, here's what really kind of catches everybody's attention. There was somewhere between $4,000 to $6,000 in paper currency laying on the ground around him, and that was in U.S., Canadian, and German currencies. He also had a bag near him which had about $2,000 in precious metals and jewelry.
Mm-hmm. And was that was his fanny pack, right?
That was his fanny pack.
Yeah. So that wasn't on him. That was near him, right?
No, it wasn't on him. But thanks for
Okay.
giving away the fact that I was holding on to that he had a fanny pack.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
the
Ruined
90s.
Yeah.
It
Sorry.
was the 90s.
One could assume.
But by all indications, Blair had no reason to be in Knoxville, and it doesn't appear that he knew anybody there, so we don't really know what happened and why he died there.
Yeah, and it's obviously not a robbery.
Not with all that
not.
cash
Yeah.
laying around.
Unless there was like 4 times as much
That's
before.
always possible.
And they just left it some behind because they were like, well, there's so much here. Make it look like it wasn't for that.
Yeah? No.
No, that's
No.
unlikely.
That's not.
Seems unlikely. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start at the very beginning of the story.
Okay.
Blair Adams was 31 years old, and he lived in Surrey, British Columbia, which is right on the border between the U.S. and Canada. And it's, I couldn't ever tell if it was just if it was its own city or a sub community of Vancouver.
I don't know. Maybe it's their equivalent of a county.
I don't know. I looked it up, but the point is, it's right there, and this is kind of important in that relationship of the border, because if you look at the West Coast, I-5 or Interstate 5 runs from the bottom of California up through Oregon, up through Washington, and where it hits the Canadian border, that's Surrey. So it runs right into there.
Yeah, right there at Peace Arch. You've been through Peace Arch before, right?
I don't know that I have.
I haven't.
You haven't?
No, I've never been to Canada.
You've never been to Canada, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I know, it's weird, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I've lived here my entire life, and I've never been to Canada.
Yeah.
It's like a
Serious.
5-hour drive.
It's not that far. You should go to Vancouver sometime. It's a cool town.
on my list.
Yeah.
Okay, so Blair, he was a foreman at a construction company, and by all accounts, he was a nice, normal, well-liked guy. You do see some things in the internet reading that hint at some other problems that he might have had, but we'll address those later. Basically, there was nothing unusual about his character.
Largely unusual.
Yeah. Not really. Yeah.
Nothing stood out. According to his mother, though, in the beginning of the summer of 1996, he started acting more and more erratic, to the point that he started having, to her, what seemed like mood swings. She describes them as pretty erratic, or strong mood swings.
And he was single, right?
Yes,
So
he was
would
a
have
single
been
man.
Pretty much the closest relationship of his.
I got that impression.
Okay. Yeah.
She did eventually ask him, what's going on here? And he replied, I don't think I should tell you about it. Which you could read a lot of things into that, but that's what he said. There have been some after-the-fact reporting, I'm going to call it after-the-fact reporting, that says that he told other people around him that someone was out to kill him, which makes him sound pretty paranoid.
Yeah.
Well, unless somebody was actually out to kill him.
Yeah, that's what he said, unless there actually was somebody.
Yeah, you're right. It's like you're only paranoid unless
something actually does happen.
And then,
It's too late.
yeah.
Yep. Oops.
Nobody believed you, if only they had.
Hi, NSA.
On the 5th of July, 1996, Blair went to the bank and he drained his savings account and he emptied out his safety deposit box. So he got all of his money in cash, and then he went to the safety deposit box, and that's where he got the coins and the jewelry, the precious metals that he would have on him when he was found dead.
And forgive me, I may have missed it, but is it ever explained why he owned those things?
Nope.
So it wasn't like a family heirloom. It wasn't like.
I don't know. I mean, I know that some of the metals were coin, so it may have been
like
that he
the
was
jewelry?
a coin collector, but I don't know if it was maybe the family's
It seemed-
box.
Some people, like to buy gold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true, of
Actually,
any kind.
I was planning, if I hadn't been cheated out of my $1.6 billion Powerball jackpot, couple weeks ago. I was planning on buying a stout wooden chest and filling it with gold and silver coins.
And burying it in your basement?
No, I was just going to have it out so I could just open it up and plunge my hands into it.
Yeah. All over the place.
Yeah.
Okay,
To answer
so-
your question, though, I don't know why.
Okay.
Okay, so Blair goes to the bank, gets all his money. By the way, the fanny pack is where, like we said, he was keeping all of
It
it.
must have been a big fanny pack.
Well, that's where I don't think he kept the cash in the fanny pack.
Well, I've heard it both ways. I've heard it in the fanny pack. I've heard he stuffed it into his duffel bag.
That amount of money, $4,000 to $6,000, and I don't know the exact conversion to say how many bills were in what versus what, but that's still a lot of cash and seems like too much to put into a fanny pack.
Not really. But if you get it in 20s, it's going to be 100 bills in a packet, assuming it's in packets. So that's $2,000. So basically, 3 packets of bills. Not that much.
Thanks for just destroying that on me, Joe.
Sorry.
But on top of a fair
All
amount
the
of
other
coins
stuff.
and
Yeah.
bills and
It would have
things
been
like that.
it would have been a tight squeeze.
Some of those fanny packs were pretty big.
I remember.
Yeah, I know.
Really
Yeah, they
were.
really
Yeah.
were.
Back to our story, though. Enough about fanny packs. So he went to the bank on the 5th, which was Friday. On Sunday, which was July 7th, he went to the U.S. border and tried to cross
And this was by car or what?
by car.
Now I heard this.
He was going to get, I think it was, you drove to the ferry, if I remember correctly, and the ferry took you across. So it wasn't like he was just driving down the road.
Well, this is the part I don't really get. Is that why, if you live in Surrey, why would you? Because I had heard that he arrived from Vancouver Island, which means you get there by ferry. But when you're in Surrey, you just drive a little way south and you're at the border. Why would he go over to the island and then catch a ferry from the island? And that's just a really expensive way to go.
So there are so many things that he did that are so unexplainable that I don't even know what questions that we're going to have.
Yeah.
I can't answer that, Joe. I
Yeah,
have no idea.
No, it's again, this has been kind of muddled because
I almost wonder if he just thought it'd be easier to get across there.
Maybe.
You know, that like on the ferry he could just blend in with a group of people and, sneak through somehow or something like that versus...
Well, that is one thing about it, especially if you catch a big ferry, then it's suddenly those guys at the customs shed all of a sudden are overwhelmed with people. There are a lot, and I've been through that whole thing. And going up to Victoria.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people getting off that boat all at
So
once.
that would be my guess, is that maybe he just thought, since he probably thought, just by his actions, it seems like he was a little
trying
agitated.
to blend in. He was trying to hide.
Trying to not be stopped at the border.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
if you're driving across in a car, you're going to get stopped. They're going to search you versus if you're just blending
Well,
into a group of people.
they don't search everybody, but they'll pick out the ones that are acting suspicious, which he was.
Right.
He was very agitated. Customs stops him, checks him out, realizes he's got all this cash on him.
That
They
looks a little
flag
funny.
him as being involved in the drug trade in some way, either as a dealer or a courier.
Well, you would assume, yeah.
Yeah, because he's a white male, he's unmarried, and he's got a boatload of money on him. Yeah, we're not letting you cross the border, so they turn him around and they send him home.
Yeah, next time the smart thing to do in situations like that is to like duct tape the money to your back. Instead of having it in a fanny pack.
Yeah,
Of course,
don't
they're going to look
just
in the
have
fanny
it.
pack.
Yeah, I don't know, but okay, so let's move forward here. We're going to go to the next day, which is Monday, the 8th of July. Blair went to work and promptly quit and asked for his paycheck.
Okay.
I have read conjecture in both directions of whether he did or did not get that check, and if he did or did not get it cashed at the bank. So I can't say if he did that. But he got his job out of the way. He then turned around, he went to the airport, and he bought a ticket for the next day to go to Germany. Spent $1,700 gonna get an airplane ticket. Which, means he wants to get out of town. Still,
Yeah.
he's trying to get out of town.
Yeah,
Well,
but
and
right.
that explains why he had German money as well as
That would
Canadian and
explain that,
American.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that totally does.
Okay.
And then, $1,700. He probably could have got a better deal if he, bought it like a little earlier.
Weeks in advance.
Yeah, you think? Yeah.
Not a day.
If things had been planned
Yeah.
instead of what seems to be spur of the moment.
Although in the 90s it was a little easier to just kind of get that like really flags you these days, right? If you're like, I need to get out of this country immediately, I will take the first flight.
Blair was doing everything in cash at this point. Is
Right, but
what I
even
can
I mean,
tell.
I'm just saying, like, that is the sort of thing that these days people are like,
Yeah, one-way tickets and
Yeah.
paying in cash.
No,
yeah.
probably
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
But in the 90s, it was
That didn't
not-
stand out at
yeah,
all.
Not really.
But he couldn't wait.
No.
To leave the country. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
flying out the next day was not soon enough for him. So what he does is he
But
shows.
he still bought the ticket.
He has a ticket.
Uh-huh.
He then goes to a friend's house that night and knocks on the door. It's in the middle of the night saying, hey, can you take me to the border? Can you get me out of town? I gotta go. His friend has her kids at home and says, Blair, my kids are here. I can't just drive you to the border. At which point he gets all flustered and frustrated and leaves.
Yeah.
And then we know that the next day he does make it to the airport. He does go to the Vancouver airport. This is going to be Tuesday, the 9th.
Okay.
But instead of getting on his plane, he cashes out his ticket, turns around and rents a car and drives south to Seattle.
Okay.
He manages to get across the border this time.
Well, he's $1,700 less.
No, he got as far as I can tell, he got his money back.
Oh, he got his money back.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then he drives.
He got it in cash? He didn't get it as a voucher?
I am under the impression that he got it as cash, but I cannot say.
I just wondered because of the things that happened next, he could have gotten it as a voucher.
Maybe.
And that would have been less suspicious crossing the border.
Well, no, there's some weirdness about the cost of ticketing, but we're almost there. So, okay, this is, again, we're still on Tuesday. He drives across the border. He doesn't get stopped this time. He goes to Seattle. He then books a ticket at the airport. I believe he would have been at SeaTac at this point. He books a ticket to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Weird thing about the ticket, and this is what I was just pointing at, is, again, he buys a one-way ticket. That one-way ticket costs $770. He could have got a round-trip ticket for $300 to $400.
Yeah, dumb move.
Well, and that's maybe a little bit why I wonder if it wasn't that he got a voucher, or it was like part cash, part voucher that they gave him.
They would only refund so much.
Right, that they would only refund a certain percent, and then they said, you know what, he got agitated. They said, all right, fine, here's a voucher for, a ticket, that it didn't really matter.
That could be. I don't know. The value of the ticket is just so weird. I'm a natural cheapskate, though. Even if I don't intend to come back on the return flight,
You're gonna buy it
I'm
anyway.
totally going to go for the cheaper one.
Oh, hell yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not so much that case anymore, but at that time, one-way flights were obscenely expensive compared to round trips.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. That was one of the things that I was thinking, is that like it would make sense that he didn't really care how much he had spent on the plane ticket because he had that voucher.
And he'd
that
already
it would,
spent the money, so who cares?
Yeah. So he had $800, $900, or maybe $1,000 on the voucher, and it was like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's there. I have to spend it.
Well,
That's
I
don't know.
I have to say that
Good idea.
based on his behavior, subsequent behavior, and previous behavior, he didn't seem to really care that much about money.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No, money was no object.
Yeah.
It was not high on the list at all.
Yeah.
Blair got on the plane
Yeah.
to Washington, D.C.
On his one-way ticket.
His one-way ticket. The flight didn't leave on Tuesday. He actually left sometime in the early part of Wednesday. So this would be July 10th, just moving forward in the timeline.
Okay.
I have no idea what he did during the time that he was waiting for that plane to take off.
He
I'm guessing
said-
he just milled about the airport.
Oh, I was going to say he went and set up the mystery soda machine. Honestly.
Oh, that's a good plan.
No?
Yeah.
Don't think that was it.
Oh.
Regardless, though, he gets on his flight. He lands in D.C. He then goes ahead and he rents another car. He rents a white Toyota Camry, and he starts driving south.
Let's talk about the things that are expensive one way. A rental car one way, incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
Incredibly expensive.
I don't know that the rental was a one-way. I
thought-
know that he was due to return the rental on the 12th or the 13th,
Do you know where?
but I'm trying to remember,
Yeah.
and I don't know that it was ever said where he was supposed to be taking it back to.
It's insanely expensive
Yeah.
to return to any kind of car rental facility that's, not within 2 miles of
Yeah.
the original one. It's insane.
Yes, it is. It's super expensive, but the point is he takes
So
his
he-
car and he drives.
okay, sure.
Heads south. We know he heads south because he shows up in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is he's actually at a gas station on Strawberry Plains Pike,
Yeah.
which is about 500 miles south.
It's kind of actually
8 hours worth of driving.
Kind of. I don't even know if it's within the city limits of Knoxville.
It does not look like it's actually it's on the outskirts.
Yeah, it's one of those freeway interchanges where they got a bunch of gas stations, a couple of fast food places, a few hotels.
It's nothing but gas
Yeah.
stations and hotels.
Yeah.
This area where he shows up, Strawberry Plains. Here's where things start to get even weirder.
Okay.
Okay, so Blair gets his gas, he pays for it, and then he can't get his car started. He goes up to the attendant being nice, comes and says, hey, what's going on? What's wrong? He says, I can't start the car. He says, oh, well, let me see your key. He figures out quite quickly that Blair has the wrong key.
For the car?
As in, he's driving a Toyota and he's got a key for a completely different brand of vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which begs the question, how the hell did he get there?
Well, also, when you're driving a rental car, the key always has one of those little tags hanging off.
It
of it.
does.
That's kind
and
of
you
a
have like
giveaway.
4 keys on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're giant wads of plastic and stuff. They're not convenient at all.
No, keys,
They're made to be obtrusive so that you don't forget that you have them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So gas station attendant says, you can't use this key. It's the wrong key. He tries to help. He says, okay, let's go through your pockets. Let's go through your stuff. They can't find the proper key to this vehicle that he drove to the gas station with anywhere.
Is there surveillance footage at this gas station?
Not that I am aware of, no.
Okay.
I don't think that it was... It's 96.
Maybe there's
surveillance footage wasn't
I
all that
just wonder
common.
because maybe he wasn't driving the car.
That is a very good question, and
Although
that does show up later on in our theory section.
Yeah,
I know.
But the attendant, the gas station attendant, didn't say anything about seeing somebody with him.
But I don't know
Correct.
that you would necessarily notice.
It's
Might not.
self-serve.
You
You're
know.
doing other stuff.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You might not notice who shows up in every car. That's completely plausible.
Although one would think that if Blair was like, oh yeah, but my friend had the key, so
If there was a second person, yeah, you would think that would
he
happen.
would.
You would think, yeah.
Now
Although-
we're really used to this now, but this is the mid '90s when chipped keys were really starting to take off. So for anybody who says, well, it was a 90s car, they should have just had a locksmith figure out what it was and they could have cut a new key. That wasn't a possibility.
So it's going to take a while.
It was. So that Camry was a chipped, that did have chipped keys?
Toyota in the 90s was starting the chipping. I know that they were. Because I know that Fords in the 90s had the chips, and Fords were the slowest to pick up the technology.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that it would have been a chipped key.
But even if they did, I mean, it's not as though, like, you take a car with no key to a locksmith and say, "Come me a new key."
It's kind of hard to do.
Especially at, 5:30 in the evening?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not as though you just, walk up to a locksmith and they're like, oh, yeah, give me, 5 minutes and I'll do that. It's a process.
It
and
is
at
a
the end of the
long
workday,
process.
Well, you got to go to
probably
the.
you're just out of luck.
You'd want to go to the rental place, I think.
Ideally,
but,
yeah.
And they were closed.
Yeah, they were closed. But here's the deal. I can't remember. I don't actually rent cars very often. It's been a while since I have. But it seems to me that when you rent a car, they give you 2 keys. don't they?
Okay. This is on the heels. They do give you 2 keys, but they lock them together with one of those.
A brad or a rivet.
Yeah,
It's a
you
rivet
can't-
or
they
a
clamp it together.
ring.
Yeah, on a big ring. So they're 2 keys, but it's on the same key ring.
It's the dumbest thing in the world. Why give me 2 keys if I
If you
can't
can't
separate
separate
them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you can't
yeah.
separate them.
Yes.
I think you can if you. I think it's because you're only meant to have the one driver, unless you actively say we're gonna have 2 drivers, and I presume that they can separate them at that point. And they say, okay, here's your 2 keys, but typically they just hand you a wad of keys that are on that same thing. I rent cars a lot, as it turns out.
Oh, yeah?
And they stick them together.
Oh, that's stupid.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's
Yeah.
very weird.
It's super stupid.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Car rental is the worst.
It is the
Yeah,
worst.
it is. But I just wanted to say, though, just coincidentally, I lost my keys just this morning. And Well, and in my defense, I got to say, I had only had one cup of coffee, and I frankly didn't get a good night's sleep last night.
Well, yeah, you want to talk about not getting.
Yeah, I know,
Anyway.
you too. But anyway,
This is not the mystery we're discussing.
No, but he could have done the same thing that I did this morning when I'm patting down my pants when they're up there. So I go look at the usual place where I leave them, and I look on other flat surfaces like the kitchen counters and everywhere, the bureau in my bedroom, and no, nothing. So I go through my jacket pockets laying on my bed. I don't remember if I wore those yesterday or not, but I go through the pockets. Not there, and I go do the whole thing over again. Finally find my keys, because I was wearing a fleece, and they were in the pocket of the fleece. And like I said, in my defense, it might have been the same thing. He might have actually had his keys on him.
Yeah.
But they were in like the shirt pocket or
They were
something,
a
and he didn't
place
realize it.
He didn't think to check. And it's happened to me more than once.